Welcome to the Blender Goon. In this video, we are going to go over object mode, how to add an object to the scene, how to navigate to 3D space, and what all the tools do. To start with, we need something to build with. So to add an object, you can hit Shift A, or you can also go up here and click Add, but Shift A is the hotkey, so Shift A, and we are going to add a cube. So the first thing you'll notice when you add an object is it comes in at the 3D cursor. So bear in mind about that, and I'll be talking about it here in a minute. You'll also notice down here we have a last operations panel that comes up, and you can pop it up, and it gives you information about the object you've brought into the scene. So you can change the size of it, you can change the location of it, and the rotation of it. And every time you do an operation, it gives you a new last operation panel. And if you've clicked off of it and you want to get it back, I believe it's F9. Will give you the last operation panel pop up wherever your cursor is. So if I go up here, F9, it's right there. So the first tool we have is the selection tool, and it's default box select. And box select just works like any other program. You hold left click, drag, and box select whatever you want to select. The next tool will be circle select. If you left click on the icon and hold the button down, you can choose what you want. So right now we're in box select, so you can choose circle select that way. You can also hit W, and W will cycle through the 4 options. So there's circle select, lasso select, and tweak, and then box select, and then back to circle select. If you want to change the influence of the circle select, you can hold left click and then roll your mouse wheel forward and backward, and you can change the size of your selection circle. The next option, if you hit W, is lasso select. Lasso select works just like any other program for lasso select. You can do a special selection and select what you want to select. And the last or first option, if you want to look at it in the list, is tweak. So W to go to tweak, and tweak allows you to grab and move things. So instead of hitting G, which we're going to be covering in a little bit, you can just left click and grab stuff and move it around, which is nice for quick editing. And to reset position and stuff, it's Alt R, and I'll be using that more later on. Oh, I'm sorry, Alt G moves it back. We'll get into that, trust me. So the next tool we have is the cursor tool. By the way, guys, you might want to get a pen and paper and write this stuff down. So W is the hotkey for cycling through your selection options, and if you mouse over it, it'll tell you shortcut cycle W. The cursor is where objects come into the scene at. So if we select this and then left click and move the mouse, it'll move the cursor. And then if we hit Shift A to add a new mesh, we can add another cube, and it will come in where the 3D cursor is. To reset the 3D cursor, it's Shift C, and that'll put the 3D cursor back to the world origin, which is where the X and Y axes meet, and Z axis. To delete an object, you hit X, and we'll delete that. And I just moved my 3D cursor again because I clicked because I had this selected. So I really don't like using this. So I'm going to hit Shift C to bring it back. And I'm going to go back to my tweak mode here, and I'm actually going to put it back on box select. And the way I move the 3D cursor is I hold Shift and I right click. And wherever you right click, that'll move the 3D cursor, and then you don't have to worry about clicking your object and jumping the 3D cursor back to where, you just set it. You don't want it to go back to where you click next. So Shift right click's good. And you can also hit Shift S and do cursor to selected, and that will put it at the point of origin of your object. And the point of origin is that orange dot in the center. And we'll get into all this stuff later, and it'll all get explained eventually. If you're enjoying the videos, please consider joining my Patreon. Any support you give helps me out a lot and gives me more time to create more content for you. Every Sunday I record live workshops in Discord, and I put them on here. Mind you, they're unedited, but I get about 2 hours every week of that. And I also have some collections that when I'm working on stuff, I put in here also. Thanks again, and let's continue the video. The next tool is our grab tool, and if you click it, it'll bring up a widget just like in Second Life, and you can grab stuff with the red arrow or blue arrow or green arrow. You can also move things on a plane by grabbing one of the little squares there, so it'll stay on the X and, or Y and Z axis and not the X axis. Same with the blue one, it'll stay on the X and Y axis and not the Z axis, and same with the green one. So that just keeps you on a plane. Um, the way I move things, I don't use the widgets. I'm gonna go back to our box select, and you can hit W to go back to box select. And I'm gonna hit Alt G to reset the object to the center. I use the number pad for changing my viewport to be on a plane. So if I hit 1 on the number pad, it puts me directly in front view. You can also, up here, hit Y, and that'll put you on the front. So we'll get back to the specifics of this widget in a minute. Let's go over the rest of the tools here. So, like I said, I don't use the widget. I use the axes. So if you hit G, that gives you free mouse movement of the object, so you can move it wherever you want. You can right click to cancel it, and it'll drop it back to where it was, or you can left click to confirm it. You can also move on specific axes. So if you hit G and X, it'll snap it to the X axis, and it won't allow me to do anything but go on the X. And it doesn't matter how you're looking at it. So if I have the viewport rotated, you can hit G, X, and it'll still stay on that axis. You can hit G, Y, and move it on that axis. And once you have it moving, you can change axes on the fly by hitting X, Y, or Z. While you're moving those on the axes, you can also hit numbers. So I can hit G, X, 2, and it'll move it 2 meters on the X positive. And you can also hit a minus after that, and it'll move it the other way. It doesn't matter if you hit the minus before or after the 2, as long as you know how many meters you want it to move. That's going to get us into the end panel. So if you hit N, it'll pop up the end panel, and you can go to the item here up on the top right, and that'll tell you the location, rotation, and scale of your object. And this stuff's important for before we export. We'll make sure all this stuff's applied and zeroed out. So if I hit G, X, and 2, and left click, you can see that it's moved 2 meters on the X. You can also change it here, maybe you want it 4 meters on the X. So you can use this panel also to move stuff around. Our next tool is going to be the rotate tool, and if you click it, it gives you pretty much the Second Life rotate controls. We can hit Alt G to move that back to the center where it was. So we'll get you used to using Alt G and Alt R and Alt S here shortly. You can move the widget the same way you can with grab by grabbing these different colors and moving them. You can also grab this one and move the whole object on the plane itself, rotating. And you can grab inside. There's another light gray sphere in here that you can grab and move like a trackball. Alt R resets the rotations. And as usual, I don't use the widget, so I'm going to hit W to go back to my box select. And if you hit R, you can choose, just like grab, an axis to rotate on. So I can rotate on the X, or the Y, or the Z. And I can hit R a second time, which gives me my trackball rotation. And if you want to rotate on a specific axis by numbers, you can. You can just type RX 30 degrees, just 30, and it'll do 30 degrees. And you can see it up here on the right. Left click to confirm. On the right, it says it. And to reset it again, it is Alt R. The next tool on our list is the scale tool. And if you left click it, you'll get the scale tool. And just like in grab and rotate, it does the same stuff. You can grab the big white circle and scale the whole object. You can grab the little squares and move the scale the object in both directions on the axis. And you can scale by plane with the little squares. You can also hold down left click, and we have a scale cage, and you can click that scale cage and move specific sides to stretch this thing how you want to stretch it. We typically don't use the scale cage method in object mode. We do that in edit mode by selecting a face and move it around. I'm going to go back to my selection method with W, and the hotkeys for scaling is S. So if you hit S, you can do on the X axis, or the Y axis, or the Z axis. And if you hit S and just scale, it scales it bigger and smaller. left click confirms it, right click cancels it. Alt G to put it back where it was. And over here, you can also set the scale how you want to set it. And it comes in default at 2 meters, I think. Maybe not. I forget what it comes in at. Back it up. Control Z backs up things, and Control Shift Z goes forward with things. And it comes in at 1 meter square. Second Life, the cube is half a meter square. So in Second Life, this thing's actually 0.5. So this is a Second Life cube. And this is a Blender cube. So don't think this is what you're getting in Second Life. This is what you get in Second Life, but this is what you get in Blender. I can't remember if I mentioned it, but to reset the scale is Alt S. And I'm going to delete this other cube. Our next widget is, or tool, is the transform tool. And it gives you all of the top ones at the same time except for the cursor. So you can scale and rotate and well, it's just scale and rotate, I think. Nope, you can grab too. So scale, rotate, and grab. Alt G to reset. Scale, rotate, and grab all at the same time. Find the scale all widget. I don't ever use this, but you can if you want to. And Alt G, Alt R, Alt S, and it fixes everything. Our next tool is the annotate tool, and you can use it to write. So, hello. You can just use it to write stuff. And there's other things you can do with it too later, like you can make lines and polygons and things, but we're just going to erase it for now. I don't use this tool that much. Just now and again, if I need to show somebody something, I'll make an arrow. The next tool is the measure tool, which I never use, but you can click and drag and measure things out to see how big they are. And if you mouse over it, you can see what the hotkeys are. So X will remove the active ruler. That's what we're going to do. But if you guys want to use that, the controls are right there. And the last one is add cube. If you click it, you can add other shapes too. So if you left click and hold down the mouse button, there's different things you can add. And if you put yourself in a good position, and I'll show you how to rotate the viewport and stuff here in a second, you can drag yourself a box and then let go and then move your mouse and actually make a cube that's attached to the side of wherever you want to put it. So you can quickly block out things like this. And it's fun to play with, and it makes things easy to snap. And there's controls for that too. If you mouse over it and just let your mouse there, it'll tell you what the snapping and stuff is for it, as far as keeping things centered and that, and uniform and whatnot. You can also use this tool to build stuff on the grid, which I didn't do. So there, I did now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit W to go back to my selection tool. I'm going to box select this stuff and shift select this stuff. So if you hold shift, you can select extra things. And I'm going to hit X and delete all that just so I have my regular cube back here. Now we can get into navigating 3D space. So I'm going to hit N and get rid of this panel. And up here we have our widget, and you can left click on the widget's gray area and rotate around the scene, or you can click on an axis and snap to it. The hotkeys for the snapping to the axis are 1 on a number pad, goes to front view. 3 on a number pad goes to side view on the x-axis, and 9 on a number pad goes to top view. If you hit, 7 on the number pad goes to top view. 9 does the opposite of whatever you have, so you can hit 1 and 9 to go to front view, and then 9 to go to back view, 3 to go to side view, and 9 to go to the other side, and 7 to go to top view, and 9 to go to the bottom. You can also rotate around by hitting the other numbers. So 2 goes up and down, 8 goes the other way, 4 goes around the circle, and 6 goes the other way. The hotkey for the rotation around the scene is middle mouse. So if you just hold your middle mouse, you can rotate and look at your object however you want. And then you can snap back to it with one on the number pad to get back in the front view so you know what you're looking at. And one more way to flip to the specific axes instead of using a number pad is holding Alt, middle mouse, and then moving the direction that you want to go. So Alt, middle mouse, and left, Alt, middle mouse, and right, and Alt, middle mouse, and up and down. So you can flip to the axes pretty quickly that way. I need to start using this instead of number pad, but I like a number pad. So the next tool we have is our zoom tool. If you left click on it and move your mouse forward or backwards, it'll zoom in and out. If you hold control and middle mouse and push forward and backwards, it'll zoom in and out. And you can also roll your middle mouse to make it zoom in and out. The next tool is the pan tool. If you hold your mouse on it and hold left click on it and move your mouse, it just pans around. The hotkey for that is shift middle mouse. So if you hold shift and the middle mouse, with your mouse in the window, you can pan around on the plane that you're looking at. The next tool is the camera tool. Since we don't have a camera in the scene, it doesn't do anything, but if you do have a camera in the scene, it will snap your view to the camera, and 0 is the hotkey for that. In one of my other videos for my Blender for Second Life playlist from before, I go over a lot of camera controls if you guys want to know more about the camera controls. And the last tool is the perspective view. So you can hit 5 on the perspective, or click it and it'll go in and out of orthographic or perspective, and 5 on the number pad does that also. Just to give you guys a quick overview of what orthographic and perspective is if you don't know, I can copy this object by hitting Shift D, and I'm going to move it over on the X. So they are perfectly in line with each other. And if I hit GY and move it back, now they're beside each other, but they're farther distance away. And if I hit 1, they look like they're exactly the same distance. But if you click your little button over here, it will show you the difference. So now we're in perspective view. So the cube at front looks bigger and closer, and the cube farther away looks, vice versa. And if you hit it again, it'll go back. And that's what the difference between orthographic and perspective is. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. If you haven't already, join the Discord and check out the Patreon. There's lots of stuff on there for you to go through. And I will see you guys in the next one.